I'm very much looking forward to the Vienna final between Zverev and Sinner. This is a very important match, especially for Zverev. I'm also looking forward to the final in Basel between Fonseca and Davidovich Fokina. A lot on the line in that one as well. But let's talk about the semifinals in Vienna first. And it was Zverev versus Musetti. A very interesting matchup because Musetti had won 3 in a row against Zverev, including quarterfinals of Vienna of last year. So a lot of people thought that Musetti was going to win this one. But I want to give an acknowledgement to a great call by Andrea Petkovic, the Petkovic Becker podcast, which is in German, by the way. So if you speak German, that's going to be great to listen to. And maybe you can dub it. It's on YouTube. And Andrea, way prior to the Vienna tournament, had predicted that Zverev, once he starts playing indoors, was going to do exceptionally well. Now, that almost didn't happen because Zverev won 7-6 in the third in the first round against Fernley, and he had lost the second set 6-1. So he could have easily lost that match, and tennis can be crazy like that. If he would have lost that first round match, he would have continued to get a tremendous amount of criticism. But now Zverev is on the up. And what's so impressive about the semifinal win against Musetti is that he was able to reverse a 3-match losing streak, something that he's having a very difficult time against Fritz, for example, who he continues to lose to. So I was surprised to see how well Zverev played in that semifinal. And Andrea Petkovic is 100% right. Zverev consistently ranks in the top 4 in the world in the ATP serve stats. The top 4 servers in the world are Pericard, Fritz, Zverev, and Sinner. And Pericard is usually number 1, but it kind of swaps between Fritz and Zverev, who's on the number 2 spot, and Fritz did briefly hold the number 1 spot as well. So Zverev, one of the best servers in the world, and what's so fascinating about him is that he has an insanely high first serve percentage, the best first serve percentage out of all the big servers. That's a fact. And when he steps foot on an indoor court, he's going to be unbelievably dangerous. Now, Zverev has had a lot of struggles this year, but we're going to get to that later. Let's discuss how he was able to beat Musetti in this match. So, first set, Zverev playing well. He breaks Musetti at 3-all, ends up holding serve, wins this first set 6-4. Now, the second set was interesting to me because Zverev had a little bit of a window at 4-all in the second to get into the Musetti serve, and at 30-all, Musetti serving, he framed a forehand return and then started showing some really negative body language. And I thought this was a poor moment to show such negative body language because he was so close to winning. And in my head, I thought that he actually might get broken because Musetti ended up holding this game. And Zverev was complaining on the bench, and he didn't get broken. He served exceptionally well, ends up breaking Musetti at 5-all and serves out this match, winning that second set 7-5. So an exceptional serving performance from Zverev, and overall very aggressive play from the baseline. And Zverev showed that he has worked on his net game a lot. He's volleying a lot better now than he has in the past. So this rise in form comes at a very fortunate time because Zverev has a tremendous amount of points to defend. Now, if you look back at the 2025 Australian Open, where Zverev lost to Sinner, his opponent, tomorrow in the final, Zverev lost this match in straight sets. He got the second set into a tiebreak, but he really didn't have a chance to win this match. And he acknowledged this in the post-match press conference. And what happened afterwards was very surprising because Zverev played some of the worst tennis that he's played in forever. Zverev has been a very consistent player at the top of the game. And he received, unfairly in my opinion, a tremendous amount of criticism that continues to this day. But some of the criticism is deserved for some of the statements that Zverev has made throughout this year, which is a completely different topic. But when it comes to his tennis, this guy is highly capable of playing at the very top of the game. The reason why Zverev had such disappointing results is that he realized how far away he is from winning a Grand Slam tournament, because going into that Australian Open final against Sinner, their head-to-head was, and the match prior to the Australian Open final was the semifinal in Cincinnati that went 7-6 for Sinner in the third. a very tight match that Zverev could have won. And the match prior to that was the US Open round of 16 in 2024, I believe, where Zverev beat Sinner in 5 sets. So I think that Zverev went into this final with the belief that he can beat Sinner because he's proven that he can. But then he stepped on the court and realized that this is a different Sinner, someone that's improved tremendously even in that short time span between 2024 and 2025. And he felt that he was far away from winning that so important Grand Slam title that can complete his great career. And he simply got down on himself. This is what I believe happened from a distance. Now, you can make a lot of arguments why Zverev has struggled in the past. Most people will say that he needs to get a new coach, but you can look at it from another angle that he was able to reach number 2 in the world, get unbelievably close to winning 2 Grand Slam titles with the coaching staff that he has. Now, of course, I agree that sometimes getting a new coach can give you extra motivation, but I think in Zverev's case, I don't think he responds well to new coaches. He's tried Lendl, he's tried Ferrero, and I think he's just comfortable with the situation that he's in. So I do believe that the entire situation with Zverev is quite complex, but nevertheless, I think this is the right path for him to get back to the level where he's supposed to be at, which is top 5 in the world. Now, like I already said, I don't think that he's going to beat Sinner tomorrow because Sinner is playing too good. All the opponents that Sinner has had in Vienna played good tennis. Even the first round match against Altmaier, I don't think that Altmaier necessarily played a poor match, and he only got 2 games. Koboli in the second round played exceptional tennis, got the second set into a tiebreak, but still lost in straight sets. The super talented and charismatic Bublik, who I always watch, one of my favorite players on tour, also played well against Sinner, but lost in straight sets. In today's semifinal, Alex de Minaur also played a good match against Sinner, but similar to Bublik, he lost 3 and 4 and didn't have much of a chance. This semifinal was the first time that Sinner had lost his serve in the entire tournament, and he had a very fortunate time for Sinner because it was already up a double break in the first set, 4-0. That's where he dropped serve the first time. That first set was quite tricky because he had break points on the de Minaur serve, but Alex ended up holding. It was 4-2, and then Alex had 15-30 on the Sinner serve, a small window to get another break on the Sinner serve. He couldn't capitalize on that opportunity, and Sinner ended up winning the first set 6-3. And in the second set, Sinner breaks de Minaur at 2-all, 2-love, but then proceeds to lose his serve, with Alex playing an exceptional return game. But Sinner, Djokovic style, breaks right back and ends up winning this match 6-3, 6-4. So I don't think we're seeing Sinner's absolute top level in Vienna. I think he can play even better, as scary as that sounds. And even if he doesn't find his top form, if he plays like this in the final against Zverev, I still think that he's going to win, possibly in straight sets. He's going to find opportunities to get into the Zverev service games. And of course, what do champions have in common? Well, they find their best tennis at the most important stages of tournaments, and he might play the best match of the tournament tomorrow and blow Zverev off the court, even though he's got a monster serve. You never know with Sinner because his return of serve is currently the best in the world. Alex de Minaur was on top of the return stats for a long time, including the majority of the 2024 season. Now, don't confuse ATP return stats with return shot quality. That's where Sinner ranked number 1 last year. But when it comes to shot quality on the return and the return of serve stats, Alcaraz and Sinner are number 1 and 2 in the world. And currently, I'm not sure about the shot quality. I don't have that data yet, but ATP Tour return stats, Sinner is ranked number 1 in the world. So on a good day, Sinner is going to win against anyone with the exception of Carlos Alcaraz very comfortably. So for those reasons, I do expect Sinner not only to take the final tomorrow, but as I talked about during my 6 King Slam coverage, Sinner is going to go on an indoor rampage and win Vienna, Paris, and the ATP finals. Now, a lot of people are mad that Sinner is skipping Davis Cup this year, but stay tuned until the end of the video where I am going to talk about the schedule. And I do think that it's smart that Sinner is skipping Davis Cup this year. Now, on to the tournament in Basel, and tomorrow's final is going to be so interesting because, speaking of de Minaur, he played an incredibly entertaining match against Davidovich Fokina in Washington this year. If you haven't seen this match, go watch the highlights. Davidovich Fokina had so many chances to win this match. He has never won an ATP title, and he had such a golden opportunity there, but Alex was just so mentally tough in that match. So Davidovich Fokina, after that match, cooled off a little bit, but he's finding form again, and he's given himself another chance to win a 500 level tournament. But he faces a very talented player named Fonseca in the final. And what's so interesting about Fonseca is that I read some negative stuff about him prior to this tournament. I, for example, heard that people were pressuring the Fonseca family to get a new coach because his results have been poor in the second half of 2025. And I've also saw quite a few negative comments about Fonseca, saying that he's overhyped and so on. And this led me to repost a graphic about next gen players in my Instagram stories, in which I said that Fonseca is on the right path. His goal prior to the season was to be seeded as slams, and despite having cooled off a little bit in the second half of 25, I believe that Fonseca, even without this great result, was on the right track, and he's had a great 2025 season. He is still very young. He was 18 for the vast portion of this year, and he is 19 now. And come to find out, Fonseca takes out last year's champion Pericard in the first round. Then he gets a tad fortunate with Menchik pulling out, and then he toughs out Shapovalov in the quarterfinals, who retired at 4-1 Fonseca in the third. And today's semifinal against Munar was such a difficult match for Fonseca because Munar is such a tough player. The first set featured no breaks of serve, and Fonseca won the important points in the tiebreak. And in the second set, Munar broke Fonseca at 2-all, and Fonseca was able to break the serve back at 4-2. Both players held serve until Munar was serving to stay in the match at 6-5 in that second set, and Fonseca got the break at a very fortunate time and ends up winning the semifinal 7-6, 7-5. What I find so fascinating about Fonseca is that he has the capabilities of hitting the ball harder than most players on tour, with the exception of Sinner and Alcaraz, and his shot speed and shot quality and the spin that he's able to produce is very similar to Sinner and Alcaraz. In the beginning of the year, this led me to make a lot of videos about Fonseca. I made a video on his forehand, his backhand, and his serve. I'm super hyped up about Fonseca, and I think that he can have a great future. But in those videos, I also warned that it might take some time until he reaches the top of the game. And I even made the claim that you don't know that he's ever going to reach the top of the game. Who knows? Tennis can be crazy because tennis is not all about forehands and backhands. And what I found that Fonseca had trouble with in this season was gauging that power that I'm talking about. So when you watch Fonseca play, you can tell that he has different levels of power. When he starts grunting, that's where he goes all out. And in some matches, maybe he was going all out a little bit too much, and his shot selection was poor. So I think down the road, it's going to be important for Fonseca to gauge the power that he has and not pull it out too often. And when that confidence grows, he's going to be able to play more aggressive for longer stretches in matches, and also playing more aggressive at the most important stages in matches. What I think improved on Fonseca are his volleys. He's volleying better now than he did earlier this year. And most importantly, I do believe that his serve has gotten better. I made a video in January about his serve, and since then, he's serving much better. So tomorrow's final, Fonseca against Davidovich Fokina, is must-watch tennis. Fonseca can get his first ATP 500 title, and Davidovich Fokina can get his first title overall. Of course, Fonseca won in Buenos Aires on clay earlier this year. But what's so great about Fonseca is that with this result, even if he loses the final, he is so close to his goal prior to the season, because he wanted to be seated at slams, and 32 players are seated at slams, and his life ranking right now is 34 in the world.